Sales Psychology by Thomas John Gralak. Dedication. To my family, my dear friends, people of sales. Chapter 1. Sale. I asked myself a question. This question is also the title of a chapter of this book, and it gave me a lot to think about. I was working as a lecturer in one of the Polish universities, and I was preparing the lecture regarding sales techniques. I basically wanted to prepare something which would provide my audience with something profound and meaningful, something which will inspire them to look and understand one of the most important concepts in a way that will make a difference. So I asked myself, Thomas, what is a sale? And you know what? I could not find the answer. Ask yourself the same question. Can you answer it? As you can see, it is not as easy as it seems. When the lecture started, I could not wait to speak to my students and ask them the very same question because I knew that it would create a brainstorming situation. This time, it was not just any of the local students. Instead, I was going to meet my international students who were from all corners of the globe. Now, because they were very diverse in their cultures, religions, and all the demographic traits, what I was going to ask was enthralling. When the time came and all the students had seated themselves in peace, I was ready to interact and communicate. The lecture started, I informed my students that we will talk about sales. I told them that we will discuss effective sales techniques, but to talk about techniques first, we had to understand what we were going for. So I told them it was time to ask questions, but just before I started, I informed them about a very simple question which I would be asking them. Trust me, it was a bit tricky because I knew finding the answer to it was no easy task. As I went on asking the question, a debate started between my students. I started to receive answers and most of them were correct. Sales as a topic has an elusive concept, so it was hard for them to grab just the right answer. Rather, they tried to come up with their own understanding of what it meant. Before I had asked these students this question of sales, I had myself pondered over it and found answers which changed my perspective towards the notion of sales. While preparing my lecture, it changed the understanding of sales I had in life earlier. Did this change the behavior of my students as well? Well, they provided some answers which were, we buy what we like, or we buy because we like adverts, or we buy because we like something, and many other responses were provided. After my dear students left me with so many great answers, I noticed that they were expressing something interesting. Namely, they were expressing their feelings and emotions, which was absolutely great because it provided me with an opportunity to read them deeper. I used my experience to derive the analytics to these answers. They made me aware of one thing. It was not sales that they had been defining all this time. Instead, it was marketing. Why? Because that is what influenced their understanding of sales. And I don't blame them. The first time I started learning about sales, the same thing happened to me as well. But after some research, I found a word that describes the entire structure of sales. I wanted my students to reach the same maturity point where I had with just some tweaks. So I started again with my students. This time, I told them to define sales in just a single word. Believe me, the look they had on their faces was worth looking at. They were completely surprised and did not know how to use just a single word to explain such a huge concept. But the comments I received did not meet my expectations. They were tense, and I ended their tense environment by telling them about my one word which I associated sales with. But before giving my answer out, I told them to not just accept it. I made them aware that I was willing to listen to differing opinions and needed constructive criticism if there was any. Once they had nodded and agreed, I shared my word. My answer was the word improvement. After I had shared my answer, I could see confusion in their eyes. I could see faces that quizzed me. Some of them looked at me like, really? Are you kidding me? Just improvement? I remember when I had the same look as they had. For a long time, I did not know what sales were about. When I asked myself what sales are about, I answered it quite similarly as my students had. I would get emotional about sales and would start to interpret sales through marketing concepts which the society had been brimming within me for decades. These concepts aim to build in us a strong desire to have something. I have also discussed this concept in my first book, Are You Really Communicating? Why is this book important? Because it talks about the most important part of sales and life, communication. The book focuses on different forms of communication, which are aiming to introduce profound changes in our life. One of these forms of communication is modern and effective marketing strategies used by the biggest companies to reach as many customers as possible and maximize their profits. The way they try to convince customers to buy something by using strong messages that are designed to create in us a desire and a river of emotions to get their product is what such companies have programmed us with over the years. Therefore, most of us, when thinking about sales, are actually thinking about marketing instead. How can I be so sure? Well, my concise, effective experiment proven true with the help of abundant students in my classroom matched my hypothesis. They had shared the same behavior and emotions and adhered to the program language which they had used to convey the deceptive meaning of sales. If I'm not wrong, you too might have been boggled by marketing, and your answer also matched the students at the start of the experiment. Did it? I will be using some examples from my other book as it has a few instances which touch the fake marketing concept. These examples are perfect for use to study the differences between the word sells and what the media has been telling us all the time. Do you know McDonald's? Who doesn't, right? What comes to your mind when this company's ad is being played? A beautiful place full of young people waiting in line for their burgers and other meals, right? They enjoy the laughs, the good times, and cherish their family and friends who are a part of their jovial journey. All the families shown in their advertisements are also enjoying their family time, and the children are overjoyed to be there. The ad shows McDonald's promising you the best life you can have if you choose them as your food point, isn't it? The food they show is tasty for the taste buds, but also appealing visually. It lures you in their advertisement, and you fantasize about eating on their menu item, or maybe the entire menu if you can. They show you this perfect world where you too can be a visitor. What is McDonald's doing? It is selling you improvement. Yes, it does that by its aggressive and effective way of exposing us to a dream we all wish to live. And it does it perfectly by starting the process of brainwashing as you start watching the ad. Each second you watch, you are hooked to the screen and consider yourself a part of the journey. The reason it happens is that they successfully tap into your unconscious mind, programming you into a mode that will eventually kill you. So by showing their improvement is better than our existing life, they make us watch the creative and hypocritical ad to persuade us that McDonald's can provide us with great food and beautiful times with our families and friends. Is this true? Ask yourself. You must have been there too, right? Would you agree their ads are speaking the truth? As far as it goes to me and the students I have asked, they all rejected their experience versus what was shown in the ads. In reality, they are not just killing people, but hurting the animals and polluting our environment. So human change, animal change, and climate change are all happening at once at the expense of McDonald's effort to provide you with the most unhealthy and depressive environment. If they take out the stats versus such food industry companies and compare it with malaria, which kills millions of people each year, I am sure McDonald's and such entities will outnumber malaria or even an atomic bomb explosion casualties. The rate of heart attacks in the world is alarming. About 17.9 million people die of heart attacks each year. Consider contributing even half of the number to other reasons. The other 9 million deaths are due to such food chains which are feeding humans processed food like they are feeding processed feed to the chickens and other animals. In the promise of improvement, McDonald's has made the young generation addicted to their food, and this addiction, which is worse than drugs because it is legal, has taken the world population into obesity. The smiling families and the happy friend circle munching on their favorite hamburgers and food at McDonald's, and such other food chains in the advertisement end up going into depression as they wait for their meals at McDonald's and stuff themselves until their heart cannot pump any more blood to the body. In my book, Are You Really Communicating? This kind of advertising is called fake marketing. This fake marketing offers us improvement at a low price without doing any effort for it. How dangerous could this be? If you wish to know more about fake marketing and communication as a holistic concept, I would ask you to go read my book to understand the psychology behind this deceptive marketing. Because this book is about sales, we have to be brief on this topic. But before we do that, please create an image of all the adverts you have seen. What is their main message? The message is a strong emotional charge fired like a missile into your brain to sell you improvement. But is it really an improvement? We buy products and services to improve our lives, and in many cases, we really can't achieve this goal considering the products are need-based. Unfortunately, for most of the time, we are wasting our money to buy something because we think it will buy us the improvement we need in life. All we want to do is to improve any aspect of our life and the life of our loved ones. However, the price of the desire to improve could be very damaging. If you buy anything, think about why you are doing it and what is persuading you that it can improve your life. Be extremely critical and use your conscious mind to buy to experience the best sales and really get a life improvement. Now, I have tried to provide you with the difference between sales and deceptive sales, which is just marketing and nothing like a sale. You are ready now to head into sales and see if from an angle that was not open for you all this time because of the marketing gurus and the veil they had put on your eyes, blindfolding you from reality and showing you a life that is nothing but a dream. Chapter 2. The Fundamental Principles of Sales. In this chapter, I'm going to bring to the surface the fundamental law of sales. The principles which I will discuss can increase your effectiveness in sales by 90%. This is not me saying it, it is the scientific research done by experts in the field of sales. So, it's worth getting familiar with this dogma of sales so you can use it in your professional and personal life alike. So let's start with these principles. There are 3 of them, and they go like this. We like people similar to us. We like people who compliment us. We like cooperative people. The 3 fundamental rules of sales mentioned above are crucial ingredients you need to create effective communication in sales. In my book, Are You Really Communicating?, I asked a question which went like this. What is the most important thing in your life which can provide you with success and happiness? At first, the question seemed to be very easy to answer. However, the variety of answers I have received through my experience as a lecturer and trainer brought me to a conclusion that was contradictory to my prediction. I was absolutely surprised that the concept of the most important knowledge in our life has been completely lost. I was meeting with many people who had come through successfully from the professional sales training, and still, they could not answer my question. But before we get to the final answer, I want to specify that all the answers I did get from the people I was working with were correct, because as we noted before with my students, we all have different views and understanding of reality. We all have different experiences that have shaped our understanding of what the main ingredients of success and happiness are. My conclusion in this area of extremely important knowledge has been developed through many years of life experience and interaction with my great students and customers. Okay, so what is the answer? Before I reveal the answer, let me provide you with the most common answers I got while asking for the principles of sales. The most popular answers were stubbornness, willpower, and hard work. All the answers are 100% correct, but these are just the components of the most important law, which if you understand it purely, will change your life. So what really is the secret? The secret which can provide you with success in your professional and personal life? It is communication. Now, this can be a bit surprising for many people. The answer is so obvious and most of us would feel dumb for not knowing it. Communication is by far the most important thing we can improve in life to get the improvement in sales as well. Right now, we are just taught the basic definition of communication, and that is why we are not conversing with our clients in sales easily. Nothing is more important than the possibility of creating a relationship with other people. You could work extremely hard, or you can be persistent and stubborn, but without the skill to sell yourself to other people in terms of who you are and what you can give them, all your hard work would go to waste. In most cases, people don't buy your product or service. They buy you. The concept of creating a long-lasting and effective relationship is very complex and is based on many factors regarding your self-esteem level, the software of your brain, and a deep understanding of the conflict within and out. However, this book will provide you with the most simple and effective knowledge for you to increase your potency in sales. To get wider knowledge in communication, I strongly encourage you to go to my previous books as well as they talk about communication in detail. For now, it is time to analyze the 3 concepts or principles I mentioned above. They will help you to create communication levels that every customer would like to be a part of. 1. The first one is, We like people similar to us. We indeed like people who behave and think similar to us. Anywhere in private life and especially in sales, this is the rule which has to be on your mind all the time. But how to be similar towards other people? How to create comfort for our customers by utilizing this concept? Don't worry, this is the easiest way, and as you read on, we will learn about it a great deal. The first one is body language. Each person has their own body language, which very effectively reflects their feelings and expectations. For you, it is very important information because by observing your potential customer, you can try to understand what kind of character and personality you are going to deal with. And again, don't be too technical. Don't think about it as a technique that can be applied in some unspiritual way. Reading other people's body language is deeply related to empathy and understanding of their feelings. How can we do it to create comfort with our customers through our body language? Try to behave as your customer does. If your customers are kind of impulsive and use a lot of gestures, this is an indication for you. See what that does and try to behave in the same way. You can mimic their body language. If their body language is impulsive and very active, be the same. On the other hand, if your customers are calm and their body language is kind of soft and their body language is not very active, this is the indication of how you should behave. Again, try to behave similarly. Try to put yourself in your customer's shoes and provide to him the comfort he expects and could enjoy. But don't overdo it. Try to be similar, but not the same. The second one is the way you talk. At the beginning of my sales career, when I was selling credit cards, I was making a massive mistake over and over again. The language I was using in communication with my customers was not compatible with their way of talking. I was using language which was sublime and too intellectual. Yes, in some cases it could work. Anyway, each customer is different, and some of them could appreciate it, but some of them do not. Thus, be focused, be a good listener, and try to adjust the way you talk to the language of your customer. If the customer is using language which is kind of relaxed and casual, try to use a similar way of communicating. If your customer language is calm and withdrawn, again, try to provide your customer with feelings expressed by him. Also, it is essential to use the same words as your customers do. Of course, don't mimic each word because it could trigger the opposite effect. Like I said before, to use this technique, you have to be a great listener. Moreover, you have to be adaptive as much as possible to give your customer the kind of communication which will provide him with the feeling of safety and comfort. The above techniques are universal, and you should try to use them each time you communicate with other people, not just with your customer. Like I said, the possibility of creating a relationship with people is the main ingredient of your success in life. To do so, try to think like people around you. Try to behave like people around you. I'm not saying that you have to pretend to be someone else. You can't do it. It would be too technical and not natural. I'm trying to say that we have to understand other people's needs and expectations. To do it, we need to try to give them comfort and understanding through our body language and language itself. It will be a challenging and interesting experience that will give you new skills and perspective regarding what the sale is and how enjoyable it could be. 2, the second one is we like people who compliment us. This technique seems easy to apply, however, it is just a first impression that could be wrong. Because complimenting our customers could be very beneficial, but also very damaging if we do it in the wrong and inappropriate way. To compliment our customers first, we have to be great listeners because it is the only way we can get to know our interlocutors. But listening to our customers' expectations and needs is just a platitude which is distributed commonly through training sessions massively offered on the market. We hear about open questions that supposedly are the main ingredients of successful and effective sales. What do I think about this theory? I totally agree that the oven questions can move the sales conversation to the next level. But to be able to use this technique first, we have to build a strong and friendly relationship with the customer, where trust and mutual understanding play the main role in creating real and honest communication. Before we get to the details of how to compliment our customers, we need to think about what complimenting actually is. How would you describe complimenting, in other words? Please give yourself a moment to answer this question. As you can see, the answer is not as easy as you could expect. To understand the concept of complimenting from a different perspective, to apply this technique in the best possible way, we need to understand the deeper meaning of this approach. So now I'm going to answer the question posted above. Is complimenting in sales appreciation? Appreciation is one of the most important factors in sales. However, appreciation can be formed by exchanging real feelings and understanding, which will give us an understanding of who our customer is and how we can help him. The question is, how can we do it? Now, the process of appreciation will be explained and shown from the perspective which will give you something new with deep spiritual meaning, which can make a change for you and your customer as well. The first and last impression. I'm absolutely sure that you have heard about the importance of a first impression. In many cases, the first could also be the last one. It is so true that most of the time, I would say 99% of the time, we have only one chance to create an understanding of who we are and what we can do for our customers. Please think how many times after you get to know someone, the first time you know nearly everything about this person. In other words, after the first impression, you already know if you like or don't like a person standing in front of you. How many times someone is shaking someone's hand for the first time, telling them how nice it is to meet them, without paying any attention to the person. I pay massive attention each time I'm meeting someone for the first time. And you know what? Most of the time, I feel like the people I'm dealing with for the first time are ignoring me, or they have no clue how the first impression could work, not to ignore the severe importance of it. For me, it is not a problem if someone is sending me the signal by seeing and welcoming me for the first time, that okay, you are here, and it really does not matter to me. I'm not saying that people are doing it on purpose. Sometimes yes, but in most cases, they just don't know what the first impression is and how it can influence the relationship. Now, please try to answer what you can give to the person you are seeing the first time by shaking their hand. Please give yourself a few minutes to answer this question. I know again the answer is not as easy. If you see your customer for the first time, this is the time when you can really start complimenting them. Seems strange? How can I compliment someone by seeing them for the first time? But trust me, this is where all the magic happens. You can make it by appreciating the situation or the moment by seeing someone for the first time. In other words, each occasion to meet a new person is a special time. This is the moment where you can provide your soul, personality, and character a real feeling of comfort and speciality to your customer. To do so, be present, be focused, show respect, and engage. Become aware that this is a special moment when you can create a new friendship. They are teaching us that we can do it by certain techniques. These include looking people straight in their eyes or shaking their hands in a certain manner. Yes, this is true in maybe 10% of cases. Otherwise, this is just an empty technique that might help. But the real first impression is based on showing that you care, that you are a person for the job, that this moment is special for you. You won't do it if you do not change the way you think about others. Each new person in your life is special. Each new person in your life can change anything. And each new person in your life deserves your respect and attention. Don't forget that the possibility to create excellent relationships with others is the crucial factor of success in your life in sales. Therefore, on each occasion when you meet a new person, it does not matter if it is a customer or someone else. Treat them as a special moment in your life. Try complimenting your customer and show them a real appreciation each time you see them. Each moment of your life and each moment of your customer's life will not happen again. So treat each new person in your life as the most important one at any time of the day. To summarize, the first impression is an extremely interesting and widely discussed topic. By making this point, I wanted to show a different way of complimenting people. The first impression concept is extremely detailed in my book, Are You Really Communicating? I gave many life examples where I was broadly talking about the matter of body language and verbal language in creating the first impression. But in this book, I want to give you the essence of meeting someone for the first time and give it a different spiritual frame, which I hope I have managed to do. Listen and appreciate your client's life. Complimenting can have many forms, as you could see at the start of this chapter. The next way you can indirectly appreciate your customer is to show interest in his private and personal life. Of course, don't get me wrong, we should ask open questions about our customer life, but it could damage the relationship with our potential customer. We can't ask directly about our customer's life, for example. Do you have a family? Do you have kids? What kind of job do you have, or how old are you? No, don't do this, especially when you are interacting with someone for the first time. This kind of information has to be provided by the customer. And when the customer is talking about his private or professional life, listen and don't interrupt. To appreciate your customer, show respect to their life. In general, it is so common that people are interrupting others when they are talking about something related to their life. And this is just unprofessional, unethical, and a sign of stupidity. Indirectly complimenting people is the most effective way of creating a real and long-lasting relationship, especially with your customer. Not because this is a technique, it is because this is the art of being a great listener who can be focused on customer expectations and feelings, which are fundamental in understanding customers' needs. We all want to be treated in the best possible manner. All we get from others shapes our emotions first, then feelings, and finally our thoughts. But it will be something we will discuss in the further chapters. Now is the time to talk about the next way of complimenting our customers indirectly. And this is also the most honest way. If the first impression we give to our customer expresses our engagement and appreciation due to the way we listen, give our customer the longing feeling of comfort. That is the time to give them even more attention and compliments. How to do it without making it too obvious. So we are having a nice conversation with our customer who is considering a purchase, right? Please don't forget that if anyone is buying anything, they are buying the improvement in their lives. It could be anything: a computer, a car, or a lawnmower. Within the conversation, you find out that the customer is working as a welder or as an architect. These are two distinct kinds of occupations. However, the beings providing their services are the same: humans. Thus, they deserve appreciation at equal levels. If the customer is talking about his job, pay attention to it and compliment it. How can you do it? Do you know anything about being a welder? Probably not. So ask questions and show interest in their work. If the customer is talking about his job, it means that this is the field you can explore, as this is something that customers want to share with you. If someone wants to share with you their life events regarding their professional or family lives, you have to acknowledge it with respect. For example, you can say, "Sir, this job seems to be very difficult and exciting at the same time. Could you tell me more about it?" Now, please don't forget that it has to be an honest and clear intention. You cannot pretend because people would feel it. The customer can also share some information about his family. So it is very important to never ask first about the private lives of your customers. Don't even ask if the customer is married or has kids, because you never know what could have happened in the customer's life. Maybe he went through some dramatic experience that is directly related to his personal life. So be extremely careful, as it is not just about sales, it is more about being a human. But if the person you talk to goes to the subject of his family, don't miss it. For most of us, family is very important. And if we share information regarding our family life, we unconsciously expect appreciation. It is the moment to show balanced interest in the customer's family life. You could ask how long he or she has been married. Once again, think about the answer you get from customers and compliment it with candor. If the customer has been married for 10 years, I would personally be impressed. Now, I could say to my customer something real and honest like, "You are a great family person." Put yourself in other people's shoes and think, how great it would be to hear from others true appreciation regarding the most important components of your life, like your passion, personal life, or family life, and you would know the feeling I am trying to convey here. There are hundreds of examples I can provide. The main point is to show a different perspective of complimenting. The ways I suggest are based on clear intentions, where through our personality, we can provide outstanding time to people around us. Complimenting is not about throwing empty words that have no value. Complimenting is about the spiritual value that can be created just as if we want to sell ourselves instead of the product or service we have. At the end of this chapter, I would like to talk about the compliments which we can apply directly. First, we talk about the spiritual meaning of complimenting others, where your internal energy and true engagement can create a relationship with the customer. But now we will go for something simpler. It is so great if we get simple and direct compliments from others. For example, I train a lot. The shape of my body is important for me, so I put a lot of effort into keeping myself in good condition. If people see it and appreciate it, I feel great, not because someone is feeding my ego, though. I'm feeling great because someone is honest with me. They notice something that takes a lot of time and effort. It feels just great. I like to dress smart. If someone sees it and appreciates that, it also gives me a feeling of importance. Think about yourself. How did you feel when someone gave you attention, noticing something special or different about you? Yes, it's something which can give us feelings of being special, but it has to be done in a balanced manner, as it has to be done in an honest and emotional style. We cannot just say, "You look great." It is too general and does not mean anything to many people. Complimenting others is not easy. By doing it inappropriately, we can cause more damage than any good. By appreciating others, we can focus and see what something special they hold with them. Try to see your customers' passions expressed by their appearance. By doing it, you will show your attention, and you will also give a feeling of speciality to your customer, which is the best compliment in itself. 3. The third one. We like cooperative people. Being cooperative with others can be super pleasant. Please think how great it feels when someone is cooperating with you. Okay, give yourself a second to analyze this idea. What cooperation really means to you. First, we have to indicate what is the opposite of cooperation. The opposite of cooperation is conflict. How many times have you experienced a conflict over some simple matter? It could be anything. You could fight with someone over politics or on religious topics. But this is not the end, because we can argue with people even on simpler issues like other people's appearance. What kind of music other people like, or the conflict about the origin of other people. We have to also remember that the levels of conflicted people within this world are the highest now, in this century. Conflict is an inseparable part of our life, but we cannot make excuses, as we have to be aware of the problem and we must try to change the reality of our destiny and the destiny of the people around us. Because one situation of conflict has a massive energy charge. This energy has destructive power, just like any weapon of mass destruction that can destroy everything in its way. The spiritual essence of the conflict is trying to protect us. We fight with others to give security to ourselves, to protect our security in the meaning of our very own self-level esteem. It will sound bizarre, but we fight and argue in order to feel safe. Please think about it for a moment. Why are we creating conflicts over small things in life? Because we want to be in control. We want to be right. We want to feel safe, but when we are losing it all, the fight or flight mode is activated. And this is the way to disaster. To summarize what the conflict is, I will put a massive weight on the feeling of safety. Safety is all we care about. People take drugs to feel safe. People are humiliating others to feel safe. They are fighting with others to feel safe. We do everything to provide ourselves with a fleeting sense of comfort. We need this feeling of addiction, just like some people need drugs. But it is just a surface of what the word conflict is and why it rises. In my book, Are You Really Communicating?, I talk about this topic from a wider perspective. Now that we have some new understanding of what conflict really is, we can speak about what cooperation is. To do so, we have to answer the question of why are we cooperating? The answer is the same as it was in the case of conflict. Everything comes down to a feeling of safety and control. Sounds weird? Weird or not, it is the universal truth. If we argue and fight with others, we use our subconscious to make decisions for ourselves. But if we are cooperating, we are using our consciousness to reach an agreement with our surroundings, and it is so contradicting. We are acting beyond our control if we want to be in control. By Thomas Gralak. Chapter 3. Emotional sales. Now we are going to focus on what cooperation is. We will go back to the beginning of this chapter where we were talking about first impression, being a great listener, being present, behaving as your customer does. The 4 points indicated above are the main ingredients of cooperation. To create great communication with your customers, we need to be able to provide them with a feeling of comfort. We need to create conditions where we are in control of what we can give to people we are interacting with, and we have to give them the best of us. The way we treat others in terms of our behavior will provide us with the behavior others will give us in return. Thus, cooperation is about being liked by your customers, and how to do this has been already explained in the previous chapter. But how to cooperate with your customers on a higher level? Let's find out. First, control your emotions. Your mind is sending you signals all the time. These signals are coming from the external world, which is constructing your emotions. If you feel any emotions during the communication with your customer, it also means that your unconscious mind is in play. This shows a signal that you can lose control over the situation. If that happens, we need to take a step back and think about the emotions which have brimmed in us. It could be a negative or positive emotion. However, it does not matter, as each emotional state could be damaging during the communication with your customer. If you experience negative emotions, they can push you to protect yourself uncontrollably. You can say something spontaneously, which very quickly will destroy everything you built. To visualize it, we need an example. You are having a conversation with your customers over some product you're offering. For example, you are selling a car. You are talking with your customer that the car you are offering him is the best. But the customer's response is negative, and he does not agree. He claims that other brands are safer or equally good. Now pay attention here. You could feel unsafe because your customer is challenging you. He is telling you that you are not right, that the information you are giving to him is false. Your response could be emotional but also pleasant. You could say in a very nice manner, "Sir, I have to disagree with you. According to the professional press, this car has been awarded as the safest car of the year." Yes, you are providing your customer valuable information that you could easily confirm, but you are also acting emotionally by defending your product. In simple words, you told your customer that he is not right. It will have further implications because the conflict situation could be born and a sale will not take place. Even if you are offering the best product in the world, the feeling of safety in your customer's control was shaken. You attacked your customer in the name of your weak ego. You wanted to be in control, but you lost it. So how could we do it differently under the tag of real cooperation? The customer responded to the information you gave him, that you are not right, and there are other cars which seem to be better in terms of safety. The emotion has been born within you. Do step back and think with your conscious brain. Okay, the customer has some knowledge regarding other brands, so this is the time to appreciate it and not stir a fight. You could say, "Sir, it is very interesting information, and you are right. Our competitors are making very safe cars as well." Look how many great things can happen with just a small change of words. Firstly, you are acting without emotions. Secondly, you are appreciating the point of view of your customer. Thirdly, you are not generating conflict. You are doing the opposite instead. You are cooperating. Now you can take another step to know your customer and meet his expectations. You could ask, "Sir, could you please tell me what is the most important thing about the safety features you mentioned in the car you're going to buy?" This is an open question that will give the customer an open field to express his thoughts and opinions. When the customer talks, listen with great intention to understand and don't interrupt. Be focused and stay present. There are so many car companies trying to sell their product by claiming they are the best. Maybe they are, but if the customer thinks differently and they are disgusted with all the people who are telling him that their products are the best, things can go wrong instantly and a sale would be no sale. Be the one who sees the world from the customer perspective. Be the one who can understand your customer concerns. Be the one who is different from others. Try to sell your presence, your understanding, and try to create comfort for your customer. To do so, don't think about the profits you can make on your new customer. Think about what you can give to your customer and yourself in terms of creating a new and long-lasting relationship. Don't be a product-focused seller. There are so many already crowded in the market. Be the one who sells improvement, not just the product. Each emotion, even a positive one, could harm the relationship with the customer. The control and communication with the customer holds a significant value. But please don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting that we should manipulate our customers. No way, it is something we must avert at all costs. Control means that we have to control our emotional stage at any level of our interaction with the interlocutor. In the first part of this chapter, we were talking about negative emotions, how they are formed, why they can form, and the impact they can have. In other words, if we experience negative emotions by communicating with our customers, it also means that we are in an unconscious mode that has been activated because our state of safety has been threatened. If we feel unsafe in communicating with others because of the influence of emotions, We act spontaneously in order to maintain our supreme position. If that happens, the situation of conflict is ready, just like you could see in the examples provided above. Thus, it is essential to be in control of yourself. Being so would provide a feeling of comfort to our customer. You have to remember that the people you are going to deal with during the process of sales feel a strong negotiation position. This is because they are the ones who spend money, and you are the one who works for that money. Sometimes their approach towards you could be a bit rude or even unethical. However, if you know why they are doing it, then you can take your emotions under control and use your conscious mind to give the best possible service to your customer. Eventually, you can achieve great results in terms of sales and your personal development at the same time. But sublime emotions that can occur within the sales are also equally dangerous as negative emotions. Why? We will talk about it in the next part of this chapter. Controlling yourself is the most important part of your personal life. We need to be in control to be focused, organized, and stable. In the world of marketing and sales, to sell us anything in the most effective way is only possible with the help of a strong emotional state. It is so common that most people do not realize the need. Look at the commercials on the TV. For example, the advert for painkillers. You see people who suffer because of headaches, back pain, and so on. When you see that someone is suffering, and maybe they relate to you somehow, you will be introduced to a strong emotional state which is unconsciously driving your behavior. Because you see suffering people as you experience negative emotions, you are seeing the solution as well. The solution to enjoy your life, to enjoy your family, and to enjoy your favorite sport activities. For all things, the only thing you have to do is to take a pill. Yes, it will work, but ask yourself, is it the real solution because of the long usage of painkillers? Your immune system can be seriously damaged. Is anyone informing you about it? Yes, the small flyers that include information about the potential side effects may try to warn you, but is that language easily understandable? Well, to only people with some medical background. Look, we are being under the influence of emotions. If we are being emotional, we are losing control over our rational decision-making process. For a long time, I was not aware of how emotions worked and how fake marketing can fool you. And for a long time in my life, I was dealing with all kinds of pain. For any first thing I was doing, I was taking a pill. The result was absolutely horrendous for me. I was seriously damaging my immune system. I was getting sick very often, and my digestive system nearly didn't work. These were just some of the side effects I have experienced during the painkiller pain journey. Why did this all happen? Because someone was controlling my emotions. If this happens, the decisions you are making can be very dangerous. But you might be thinking, marketing operates in such a manner so we can sell. This is now we can make profits. Well, this is the way modern and fake marketing works. They are taking the control of people in order to sell them anything at any price. They do this by not taking into consideration the consequences all these people will pay in the future. The subject of fake marketing and its influence on our lives has been discussed in my previous book as well, in great detail. But now we are talking about direct sales, about communicating with others face-to-face or by phone. How can we sell? How can we serve people? And how can we provide an excellent service? Yes, we can work on their emotions, we can scare them, and we can lie, but what would be the result? When they become aware that all we have done for them was a lie, that the entire experience was nothing but a pre-planned manipulation. Emotions are not just part of our everyday life. Emotions are the main ingredients of conflict, and they are the main ingredient of unethical sales. Emotions are taking control over you, and by acting emotionally, you are being out of the possibility to communicate with people. Therefore, it is so important to be aware of how emotions work. Now try to imagine the situation of sales. You are selling a car to your customer. The relationship between you and your customer is very open and friendly. You can see that your customer likes you and trusts you. Everything you say is accepted by your customer. You feel that you can offer your customer even a twice as expensive option, and they will still go for it. But also, you are aware that your customer really can't afford the more expensive options. Anyway, because you have developed great communication with your prospect, you know that you can offer a credit to them. At this point, the customer is not really sure if that is something they should go for because of their financial status. But you have the power over your prospect. Thus, to make a bigger commission, you are offering your customer the more expensive options by influencing their emotions. You tell them, "Sir, try to imagine yourself driving this car through your neighborhood. You and your kids deserve it. This option will give you more safety, prestige, and you will enjoy it a lot for a long time. This car really suits you, sir." You know that you can control the emotions of your customer, and finally, you have achieved your goal. The prospect bought a more expensive car, which they could not afford and would not buy with a new salesperson. After some time, the customer realized that they made a mistake. They are now struggling to pay the debt. As a result, they are coming back to you, asking if they can return the car. They are asking you because they think of you as their friend, but now you have to refuse. Now you are not anymore the trustful man they knew. You are the one who uses the customer's emotions for your own advantage. You are like the advertisement of painkillers that seem great and highly effective, but the only thing you have achieved is pain and disappointment. What impact will it have on the business you represent in the long term? This kind of emotional sales works for just a short time. You could have created real trust. You could have made a friend, and you could have become someone who sells an improvement. But who are you now? Please answer this question and think how dangerous emotional sales could be. Chapter summary. The question is, are emotional sales used in communication with the customer? The above content of this chapter shows emotional sales as something which can do more harm than good. However, this book is directed to both sides, the customer's side and the salesperson's side. To understand how to sell and why people buy, it is essential to be aware of the consequences of unethical sales. Nonetheless, emotional sales are everywhere. They are used by big companies whose financial resources enable them to utilize marketing as a science. People make decisions unconsciously, mainly based on their emotional state. However, if we know that we can use this knowledge in the goodwill to get to our customers the best possible results and receive the best possible results for us, that will be a win-win situation. Thus, how to use emotional sales in order to give our customers the best possible service, time, and a long-term relationship. Chapter 4. Emotions, feelings, thoughts. The scenario, which can be seen above, represents the process of how our brain reacts to external stimuli. The external stimuli is everything, and it is everywhere. Everything which surrounds us, like people, cars, animals, furniture, weather, religion, music, sound, family, friends, adverts, the internet, and so on. All objects and energy in the entire universe have the possibility to influence our emotions, feelings, and finally, our thoughts. This process is beautiful and very creative in its nature, but if not handled right, it could be very destructive and negative. Strong emotions create in us a spontaneous reaction. The emotions are created in us, and the magic starts to happen as well. The emotions create feelings that last for a very long time, or they can disappear in a matter of seconds. After the feelings are starting to create a certain vision in our brain, we start to think and take actions. These thoughts are the result of the spontaneous influence of stimuli we cannot predict. So why can this process be dangerous? I gave some examples above. Now I will provide an example that will create a vision of emotional sale that can be very beneficial and effective for you as a seller and for your customer as well. So we know that people are extremely emotional and they are making decisions based on their emotional state and experience feelings and thoughts. Please think about the people you have seen in your life for the first time. It could be anyone. Try to imagine that you are heading for an interview. You just arrived at the office where the secretary is noting down the visitors. You are informing the secretary why you are there. The secretary is politely asking you to sit down and wait for the recruiter. After 5 minutes, the recruiter arrived. You see in front of you an extremely well-built, 2-meter-tall man. In addition, the man you are going to talk with is bald and has a scar on his face. Now the question is, what would be our reaction? At first, some of us would react very emotionally by judging the man for someone who could be aggressive and unpredictable. This emotional state will create in us a feel of scaredness, uncertainty, and unpreparedness. This first impression will take control over our body language and the way we talk. This stage of creating a relationship could be very challenging because of our emotional evaluation. Why? Because our emotions and feelings are already decided that the recruiter is someone we don't want to deal with. However, after a couple of minutes, the big man with the scar face turns out to be a very well-mannered man with massive empathy. He turns out to be one of the nicest men you have ever met. Just like this example, we judge people in a matter of seconds, which, in some cases of death or life, could be beneficial. But not any situation is demanding from us emotional thinking and the ability to judge people, because doing so would destroy the possibility of co-creating a strong relationship. Do you know how you can use it in your sales? The first stage. Now try to imagine that the customer who sees you for the first time judges you instantly. Even before you will get into a conversation with the prospect will know everything by just seeing you from a distance, before the actual conversation. We have to take it deeply into consideration because it will have an impact on the way the customer will treat you from the beginning of the interaction. Your external appearance will create emotions in your prospect. The same thing will happen to you. However, as a salesperson and at this stage of forming a relationship, you should be aware of it. And if any spontaneous emotion, good or bad, arises in you regarding your customer's appearance, as a professional, you have to control it. In any way, your prospect does not have to be aware of it because you are the seller. You are the one who has to provide a feeling of comfort and safety to your customer. Look at this first stage of your interaction with the customer. At this stage, you will create emotions in your customers without the possibility to control them. The second stage is the first impression where emotions can be converted into feelings. This is the moment when you, for the first time, will get into actual interaction with the prospect. The first impression will be in play. It has been already mentioned in an earlier chapter of this book. The first impression, the first possibility to interact with the customer, has been represented as one of the best ways of complimenting your customer. Complimenting is not just about throwing out phrases like, "You are looking great," or "You have a beautiful dress." You can use this kind of compliment for someone you know very well. For someone you are interacting with for the first time, you need to get to the next level of your personal possibilities. By the first impression, you need to give your customers the best you have. Putting it differently, the time you look straight into your customer's eyes and the possibility of shaking your customer's hand is the magical moment. At this moment, you can express your appreciation, respect, attention, support, and dedication. This is the moment you can show the customer what you can do for them by showing who you are. At this moment, your customer will experience something different. Their mind will experience you in real time, in real interaction. They will feel the energy of your soul. It will be the moment where real feelings will appear in the customer's mind about you. However, at this stage of creating communication, from my personal experience, the most important thing is to pay attention. How many times have you spoken to someone, but at the same time you were somewhere else? Yes, we have friends, families, problems, private and professional lives. There are so many things we have to take care of. It takes our attention from other people, and this is one of the worst things which can happen during any conversation. Please think, has this happened to you? You were talking to someone who seemed to be respectful towards your needs and focused on you as a person, but suddenly you feel the person you are speaking with is pretending. Their attention, respect, and dedication are just fake. How does it feel? Yes, it feels horrible. So always pay attention, be focused, and give real respect to people you talk with. It will give them a special feeling about who you are and what you can do for them. The third stage. The third stage is the actual conversation with your prospect. You are after two spiritual stages with your customer. Why spiritual? Because sales is an art of communication. Communication within the sales process generates massive amounts of energy. The first two stages are where emotions have been converted into feelings. You can close more business in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get people interested in you. By Dale Carnegie, now is the time to enjoy thoughtfulness. The first two stages of interaction with the customer will give you a real possibility to open the gate to the next dimension. The quote above expresses the importance of appreciating other people. The intention to create an honest relationship based on real communication is the key to improve the lives of others. If we will be able to improve the lives of other people, at the same time, we will be able to improve our own lives as well. However, in most situations, this works the opposite way. We are focused entirely on our own needs in the name of achieving benefits, and this approach does have nothing to do with cooperation. This kind of treating people could be reflected in the image of conflict or war, where one side is doing everything to win over the opponent. And to win the war, we have to be tricky and ruthless. But to win other people's friendship, we need to forget about our selfishness and try to give our honest interest to other people's lives. The third stage of creating communication is based on real thoughts. Please think about it. You can use the two first emotional stages to get the best return on investment by treating your customer like a piece of meat. You can use certain techniques to improve sales and use emotional stages of interaction to use your customer to your own advantage. The example can be seen in the form of unethical sellers who use the customer's trust and naivety to sell them anything for the highest price. Also, you can do the complete opposite. You can sell to your customer something unique, something priceless. You can sell your presence and your heart. Up to you what ways you will take. The only thing we can be sure of is that we will face the consequences of everything we have done to other people. 6 Emotional Commandments of Emotional Sales. Robert Cialdini is the man who has changed the world of sales. He was able to analyze the market during his search for the most effective ways of influencing customers' decision-making process. In the end, he provided us with the 6 principles that shocked the world. But before we go to each of these stages, we have to be clear of one thing. After I read Cialdini's book, I was a bit confused because I thought to myself, really, is it so easy to manipulate me? But later on, when I was doing my other research, I became aware that manipulation is nothing wrong. As a writer, I consider myself an open-minded person, and I realize that we pay too much attention to the stereotypical meaning of the words. It has a profound impact on the way we see the world and interact with it. From a wide perspective, manipulation is perceived as something bad, as a tool that can be used to harm people. And it can be true if we use manipulation to use people for our own advantage. However, if we use manipulation to help people, to increase their awareness, and to grow their empathy levels, the same manipulation can be beneficial for both sides. The dualistic world, full of polarization, creates a massive amount of conflict in which people have established different versions of reality. They see the world from their own point of view, which is not compatible with other people's views. This attitude kills many of us and is not helping in communicating. In this chapter, I will go through Cialdini's 6 principles of influence. By analyzing each of the principles, I'll try to show the good use and the bad application of manipulation. Doing this will show that the dualistic approach within the sales world can exist. However, you will decide what is good or bad for your customer and then yourself. Reciprocity. Reciprocity is the first role of influencing. This word at first seems like something which does not need any attention. It is obvious that we treat people the way they treat us. But before we get to the point of how reciprocity works, please think, when and where was the last time you experienced such kind of influence? In most cases of reciprocity, it is the emotional response to external stimuli. It creates our relationship with others, and it happens hundreds of times a day. The emotional responses shape our feelings, and the feelings shape who we are as individuals. But most of the time, we don't think about this kind of influence because it has been controlled by our unconscious responses. However, it has a colossal impact on the quality of our life. But now we are going to use this knowledge to improve our sales and quality of life. You are going to be interested in how emotions shape who we are and how we behave. If you want to read that in great detail, please read my book, Are You Really Communicating? So how does reciprocity work in sales? Have you been to some nice restaurant? At the end of the meal, when you ask for a bill, the waiter brought to you a bill on a tray, along with 1 or 2 candies or some sort of delicacy. Did that gesture grab your attention? Most of us would say no, but our unconscious response will be expressed with reciprocity. By getting some small gift with the bill like a mint or any present, increases the possibility of the amount of the tip by many percentages. If you triple your gift to your customer, the reward will increase as well. Now, if the waiter will personalize the way he is rewarding a customer by interacting with the customer, the tip will increase even higher. In other words, the waiter will approach customers at the end of the meal by saying to them, "This is a small gift for my very best customers." Just this information will increase the tip by more than 23%. Thus, it can be seen that the way we reward our customers is deeply connected to the way we will get rewarded in return. It can be done in an indirect way by offering a gift on the tray without any direct interaction. Also, we can do it indirectly by going into an interaction with the customer, by showing them attention with real interest and respect. Nonetheless, the direct way is not as easy as we would think, because telling the customer that, "You are my best customer," without knowing and feeling anything about him could work in a completely opposite way. And it could also be called unethical manipulation. But the question is, how to create a relationship with the customer you see for the first time? How can you interact with them? Do you still remember? We like people similar to us. We like people who compliment us. We like cooperative people. This information provided at the beginning of this book can give you a tip on what to do in terms of creating relationships when time is limited. And this is where all the magic comes. This short time with the customer of any kind does not have to be at the restaurant. It can be any situation of a sale and can be made special. The way you compliment your customer can be direct and indirect. The way you talk is the direct way, but first impression, your body language, your attention, the way you listen to the customer and respond will create a relationship that will provide the feeling of comfort. And this is the part of indirect communication that is essential to apply in situations where you have limited possibilities to speak to your prospect. The reciprocity technique can be very effective in sales. But if you are just focused on an unspiritual technique that is aiming to make a bigger profit on your customer, it can be called unethical manipulation. However, if your intention is honest and if you know how to create real comfort with communication with the customer, then you can apply this principle and achieve much more than just a higher tip. You can find a friend. You can create a long-lasting relationship with the customer, which will bring your business real success. The success will be expressed in the financial and other forms of results. Moreover, you will create the brand reflected in customer trust. Scarcity. Scarcity is the next principle of the most effective ways with which we can influence people. This kind of sales technique is universal. If you watch commercials about cars, you can hear that. There are a very limited number of cars at a certain price. Another example is when you are going to your shop and on the shelf, you see a sign. This is a product at a special price with limited units. Another example can be seen in the case of Concorde. It was a speedy plane. When British Airways announced that they would no longer use this plane because it was uneconomical, the last available flights for the next day were sold out. The sales skyrocketed. Now think about it. Nothing changed, but people had the last chance to experience something which would not happen again. Now, can you see how the law of scarcity is very commonly used? Like you can see in the examples above, the law of scarcity can be carefully planned and executed. In the case of cars or other products available in all the shops across the world, it was planned. But in the example of the Concorde plane, all instances of sales spiked, and this was completely unplanned. What does this tell us? The scarcity law is analyzed by our brain with emotions. If something is rare or is going extinct, we have to have it. This reaction to scarcity is ruled by a strong desire to buy. This technique used on shop shelves can increase sales even by 60%. The question is how we could use this law in our interaction with the customer. How does the law of scarcity work during face-to-face interaction with our prospect? Of course, we can talk to our customers and inform them that the product they are going to buy is at a special price. We can share with them that the number of units is limited. This is just the unspiritual technique that can work and probably will. But this is just another way of influencing customers. This is just another technique which we are being exposed to nearly everywhere. This is how the law of scarcity can work for us and our customers in a sales situation. Recently, I went to the Audi company's branch to discuss the possibility of cooperation in providing them sales training for their car sales. I had to prepare a presentation to show my potential effectiveness and also in order to sell myself. The presentation I prepared was titled Emotional Sales. My aim was to provide the kind of training which will be scarce in its nature. Sounds strange? Okay, let me provide you with an example of how I was going to do it. At first, the knowledge about sales I was providing was not concentrated on techniques such as open questions, active listening, or closing techniques. I'm sick of these outdated practices, and so should you. Most of the trainers always teach the same things again and again. It is like teaching someone how to drive a car by telling them, just hit the pedal and it will be Looney Tunes. What will be inevitable is a crash. And this is the way the current way of teaching sales operates. If you go to any shop or if someone is trying to sell you something on the phone, you will always experience the same sales techniques, more like the paint on the body of the car at a production line. Are the salespeople simply robots? Are the customers some emotional products that have to be handled in a certain way? Unfortunately, this is reality and it is ubiquitous. By showing my presentation, the most important for me was to put emphasis on emotions in sales as it was luxury cars as my sales subject. Performing my presentation, I asked my listeners why their potential customer came here, right to this place, which was the showroom of Audi and Porsche. The answers I got were, because of customer need, or because customers like our brand, or because customer needs the best car. All the answers were correct, but just correct and not special. My understanding of buying a car like Audi or Porsche is much deeper. Some people love certain brands like Porsche, for example. This is about childhood dreams. A strong feeling to drive your dream car can direct your professional life toward this goal. This is about social status where people, because of their hard work, can express their achievement and personality in the car they buy. This is not just about needs. This is about deep feelings, desires, and achievements represented by customers. We need to understand their emotions to be able to provide them with a unique situation of interaction with us. To do this, we need to provide them with a feeling of outstanding comfort. In this situation, the high level of attention you pay to your customer, the real, honest listening will be the most important. So, attention and listening, how to do that? This question is very difficult to answer because to fully understand the way it can work, it would be great if I could take part in my training. Anyway, let me try to explain it. How to create a feeling of full attention. Don't forget it was a part of my presentation. The first impression is also the last one you can make. This moment you see your customer for the first time will not happen again. By selling luxury cars, you will deal with all kinds of people, from rich people to gangsters to business people and many other personality types. However, each of the examples above at the beginning of the first reaction will create in you a strong emotional state where you will judge your customer by their appearance. You will be emotional, but your emotions could be varied, like very positive emotions or just the opposite. In both cases, emotions are no good indication to start a new relationship. Therefore, by approaching your prospect, open your heart and mind. Let your customer feel your real self by getting rid of prejudices and emotions. The time you look into their eyes and shake their hands shows your deep appreciation expresses itself in deep attention. Your voice and body language would need to be natural and adaptive at the same time. It will give a unique feeling of comfort where the customer will feel free to talk. Listen with deep attention and ask not open but meaningful questions that will create a situation of scarcity. The situation of scarcity will reflect in outstanding service and above all in communication with your customer. This will be full of empathy, courtesy, and relationship. Authority. The rule of authority plays a very important role not just in sales but also in our private lives. The principle of authority is related to our appearance. In other words, we trust people who at first look to inspire confidence. Put simply, we judge people by their appearance. In many cases, this could be beneficial, but unfortunately in some cases, this emotional approach toward others can be disastrous. For example, you are at your home when someone is knocking on your door. You open the door and you see some men dressed in police uniform. At first, you would be surprised and even scared because you would wonder what the police want to do with you. But the policemen who came to your house see your stress and calm you down. They inform you that something happened in the neighborhood, and they politely ask if they can come in and ask you some questions. For 99%, the reaction will be like, "Yes, sure, if I can help, I will. Please, come in." So after the men dressed in police uniforms enter your house, you think you are completely safe, but something strange is happening, and you are again in a state of nervousness. These two men out of the blue incapacitate you and rob your house. What do you think? In this example, we can see how the principle of authority works. Please don't take it wrong. I'm not trying to suggest that this principle is wrong because of the example I have provided. By this example, I was trying to show how powerful this rule can be. We judge people by their appearance, and we are able to trust them without any hesitation. We can be easily manipulated. The price of this manipulation can be very high for us. Anyway, the principle of influence has massive power in our everyday lives. We are being judged by others in a matter of seconds, and we judge others the same way. We know instantly if we like someone or if we hate them. We know instantly if someone is stupid or clever. We reject people before we even know them. We can easily hate others, but we can easily trust and love people without any reason. Look how the principle of authority is powerful. Therefore, we should and we can use it in our everyday life, especially in sales. However, the way we will use it has to be ethical, full of empathy, and without any judgmental emotions. The influence regarding the principle of authority is in play every time we see or hear our new customer. Like it was mentioned in the points above in this chapter, the first impression is one of the most important ingredients of creating communication with other people. If we know that we will be judged in a matter of seconds by our customer, we don't have much time to create a first impression that will give us the possibility to create comfort for our customers. Some trainers will tell you that the first impression will give you an advantage over your customer. Like in the example of two policemen who could create trust by their appearance and later rob their victim. No way, this is a lie. This is artificial, and this is just stupid. The principle of authority has to provide our customer with an understanding of how emotions work. We need to understand our emotions and the emotions of our customers as well, not just to manipulate them to make a profit. We need this knowledge to create a first impression where we can express our true selves. It is not about empty techniques, it is about energy, the energy we can send to people around us. This energy will send the signal of who you are and what you can do. This signal will be deprived of any emotions and judgmental emotions. This signal will show how important the person you are going to deal with is for you. This signal is the moment of the first impression you will give to produce a special feeling for your customer with the help of attention and real engagement. But don't forget, a lot of your customers will be emotional and extremely judgmental, and there is nothing wrong with it. This is just the way our world operates. However, if we know the secret, if we know that people are not as rational as we thought, we can care about our customers' feelings by controlling our own. At the end of this chapter, here are some technical tips. Your look is very important. It is everything that matters. The way you dress should be smart. Equally important is the way you smell. Your physical look is important as never before, but this is just a small addition to your overall first impression. The main elements are levels of energy, health, and psychical conditions that we will discuss in one of the next chapters. A curiosity. The principle of authority can also work indirectly. A certain study reveals that if someone is trying to make an appointment for us, by introducing our person as a competent and professional, the possibility of persuading the client for the meeting increases by 18%. Eventually, if the meeting takes place, the possibility to close the sale will increase by 20%. Look how the law of authority can work for us in direct sales. If someone is representing our person, the image of our personality in the eyes of the customer increases. This approach can be utilized by the salespeople who are making appointments for their colleagues. Of course, this has to be ethical communication, where honest intention to provide the customer with the most effective service has to be in the first place. If we combine all the knowledge included in this chapter, we will get a new perspective to communicate. This new way of interacting with the customer will allow us to provide outstanding service as never seen before. Consistency. 400% of the principle of consistency can improve the interaction with other people and effectiveness related to the change implementation process. The campaign Drive Safely was a studio conducted to find the most effective way of influencing people regarding their drive patterns. What did researchers do? To persuade people to drive safely, the information boards were placed by the side of the road. Unfortunately, this did not have much impact on the way people were driving. However, when the researchers placed information boards on the rear windows of people's cars, the effectiveness of persuading has increased by 400%. It means that the support of people towards a certain objective can tremendously influence our decision-making process. This principle can and is utilized by many businesses. When you go to a restaurant, you can find on the menu the dish of the day or the specialty of the chef. This kind of influence people can work. However, converting this approach to social support can change a lot. Do it on your menu card. Instead of placing the examples provided before, you can inform your guests that this dish is the most liked by other customers. This approach will increase your sales a lot. But the way you act in terms of techniques of social support referred to as consistency has to be honest. You cannot lie to people that something is the best and has the support of your customers. If you do that, it will be unethical manipulation. This is unfortunately common and is used by the modern world of marketing. Just watch or listen to commercials. Nearly every time you will hear, "This product is the most valued by another customer," or "This service is the most popular amongst our customers." How can we know if this is true? The fake image of powerful media makes this kind of information trustable, and at the same time, they quadruple their sales while doing it. Nonetheless, if this rule of influence can be used in an unethical way, it can also be used honestly. You can do it by providing the time you interact with your customers, the time you sell them, and when you try to provide them with the best possible solution based on their expectations and desires. If you fulfill them, you can collect their mindset to promote your business or personality. This principle can be used by any kind of business, and I strongly recommend you to do so. Liking. This approach has been discussed before in terms of emotions that are present in face-to-face sales, but this concept is special and it is worth getting back to it to know how and where it could work. This is not a secret that most of our interaction has moved to the world of the internet, especially now in times of pandemic. It seems like the concept of liking will not be as effective through online interaction as it is in the real world. Now just recall these. We like people similar to us. We like people who compliment us. We like cooperative people. These three above points have been talked about before. However, the same 3 points refer to online interaction as well. There was research conducted where 2 groups of people were trained in sales. The first group was trained to go down straight to the business with potential customers. The second group was trained oppositely. The second group followed the fundamental law of liking. They were taught about emotional intelligence and how they could fulfill other emotional needs of a potential customer by being focused on them with pure honesty. The first group achieved sales in 50% of the interactions with customers. The second, more empathic group was able to sell in 90% of the cases. Look at the difference. It is massive, yes? But this principle of liking is very difficult to use spiritually. Yes, people are using it as an empty technique that does not make any difference, like going straight down to the business. The concept of influencing people by your internal energy, mainly created in your heart, was discussed before. However, we will go back to it in one of the ending chapters. Consensus. This rule can be also referred to as social proof. This way of influence is based on other people's behavior to determine our own. If you go to the hotel and see the toilet informing, "Please reuse the paper towel," what would you do? But if you see a different note this time stating, 75% of hotel guests are reusing the paper towels, what would you do this time? This kind of influence can increase the effectiveness of interacting with customers by more than 30%. The same message served differently can influence people to do the same things, but in a motivating way. The problem with deforestation in the world is influencing our nearly destroyed planet. In the future, deforestation is not going to stop. It is predicted that demand for wood will increase and more forest will be destroyed. Each initiative to save forests across the world is essential. So try to imagine combining this awareness of human stupidity regarding deforestation with an initiative of limiting paper consumption. We could place information on any kind of paper products that reusing can save our planet, and 80% of people support this. How would that work? This technique is absolutely effective and can be used in a good way to save our planet. Are the companies using it? Well, they believe in selling more to get more profits. They believe selling less will make fewer profits, and that is not something they want. We live in a world where the dead tree is more valued than the living tree. Also, we live in a world where we can make decisions that matter, so we can try to improve our business by improving the quality of other people's lives. Summary. These 6 simple principles provided above can provide you with an easy-to-use, practical, effective, and cost-effective way of interacting with your customers. Interaction, in other words, is communication. The way you communicate with your customers will create influence. The influence which can improve your image, profit, and above all, your comforts of life. Give options. To be honest, I don't like the term regarding the sales techniques because it seems like a very non-emotional approach toward others. In my book, Are You Really Communicating?, I was representing sales as an art of communication. However, the concept and understanding of communication have been broadly replaced by the art of sales techniques. This approach has a massively damaging impact on creating a relationship with customers where trust and an honest approach are absent. Please try to remember one of your last experiences with a salesperson. They could be trying to sell you something by phone or face-to-face meeting, and the feeling you would have experienced could have been like someone was using the human manual user. In other words, salespeople are trying to influence your behavior by using certain techniques that can improve their sales. Unfortunately, this kind of approach generates a lot of stress on both sides. All of this wrong communication goes to our unconscious mind where our brain activates the flight or fight mode. So the question is it worth using sales techniques? The answer is absolutely yes. However, to do so, we have to have an honest intention, and our goal should be to give the customer a real improvement. To give the customer a feeling of comfort in the sales process, it is essential to provide our interlocutors with more than one option. Let's represent it in the example. Try to imagine you are going to buy a phone. You head to the shop where you intend to make a purchase. In the shop, you find hundreds of different types of phones with different prices and specifications. The massive choice of options is nothing wrong, but because you are not a specialist in smartphones, you will need some qualified person to help you. And this is the moment where a specialist comes, the salesperson. Let us run through some situational encounters. Situation 1. The salesperson will ask you what type of phone you need. So you are explaining that the phone you are looking for should have certain specifications, like brand or strength of the battery, price, and so on. After you expressed your expectation, the salesperson is representing to you the only option by reassuring you that it is the best possible choice. What would be your reaction? You can see so many other options around you, but after the short conversation, you are only provided with a single option. You would get the impression that probably the salesperson is not very interested in helping you, or you would feel like the service you are being provided with is not as effective as it should be. Have you been to a shop like Lidl or Aldi? These are 2 German brands that have become very popular across Europe. However, before they became so successful, they had to compete with many different other brands that already had an absolutely strong position in the market, like Tesco, for example. What is the difference between these 2 companies and Tesco when both are selling nearly the same goods? The difference is monumental. If you go to one of the Tesco shops, you will find yourself in a massive space full of different products and brands. It seems beneficial for the customer, but the time you have to spend in the massive shop and the confusion you can experience while searching for products, not to forget the decision-making process, is what most customers would not like. Now, please think about a shop like Lidl. If you go there, the size of the shop is not comparable to the size of the Tesco store, and that in this case is an advantage. The Lidl store is smaller, more compact, and all the products are located in the same place. Also, each store across Europe has the same arrangement. In other words, each store looks the same and offers the same limited number of products. However, limited does not mean not enough. The number of products is just right, and the customer has some options but not too many. This again provides the customer with a feeling of comfort and safety. Thus, now we can go to the second option and see another scenario. Situation 2. Now try to imagine the opposite situation when the enthusiastic and knowledgeable salesperson is approaching you, and after listening to your expectations, you are being provided with dozens of options. Each option seems to be attractive, but the number of smartphones you have to select from gives you a headache. Even though the salesperson was trying to provide you with the best possible service, the effect will be the opposite. In this situation, you would not feel confused, but all these options would create in you a feeling of uncertainty. This will eventually push you to leave the shop without buying anything. The uncertainty which was created by the conversation with the seller would push you to the conclusion that you need more time to make a decision. No good again for the sales and customer side. Okay, it's time for the last option. The third option is the most optimal and also the most effective. But the effectiveness of this option does not follow from applying a tricky approach toward the customer. The meaning and aim of this option is completely opposite. This approach is aiming to provide our customer with the feeling of comfort, security, and high-quality service. This approach, or as you call it, sales technique, can give the customer an environment where a purchase decision can be made in a very attractive and peaceful manner. It will create a feeling of trust and will instill a long-lasting relationship, which is essential for any kind of business. Now is the time to provide an example that is a win-win for both the customer and the salesperson. Situation 3, the 3-option technique. Again, you are in the shop to buy your dream smartphone. This time you encountered a very knowledgeable and friendly salesperson. After the conversation with the salesperson, who turned out to be a great listener and a questioning person, you are being provided with the service which will allow you to make the best possible decision. You have been offered 3 different phones which suit your expectations in terms of price, brand, and technical specification. However, each of the 3 options offered to you is different. The first option is the cheapest, but still, it is something you could consider. The second option is a bit more expensive, but the higher price is reflected in better technical specifications and the looks of the phone as well. The third option is the most expensive because the salesperson is offering you something which even exceeds your expectations. Nonetheless, it is still something you could consider. Let's put it together. The meaning of choice has massive value in the process of creating a relationship in effective sales. To provide to the customer the most value in the sales process, we have to provide optimal conditions which will give the customer the feeling of safety and the best possible decision-making process. The number of options provided to customers cannot be too small and too big. If they are, that will create uncertainty and will damage the possibility to communicate with our customer. The number of options has to be just right. The 3-option techniques provided in the right manner will certainly improve the possibility to interact with customers and will create a business environment where honesty and trust are the foundation of success. The 3-option technique can be applied to any type of sale. This technique aims to provide the customer with a real feeling of comfort, but by offering more to the customer, we cannot be just focused on the technique. First, it is essential to create a mutual understanding with the customer. It is essential to be a partner and friend at the same time. The creation of real communication provides customers with outstanding feelings which will contribute to building long-lasting relationships. The creation of relationships cannot be mistaken with any kind of technique. Unfortunately, it happens a lot where salespeople are provided with training which is aiming to maximize sales by treating the customer as a subject of profit. It is so important to provide techniques to improve customer expectations and feelings during the sales process. Anyway, the techniques are just a small fraction of the success in the sales process. The most important is your character, personality, self-image, and understanding of the meaning through the deep spirit of communication. But to understand what communication is, we have to understand our limitations and strengths. I will try to give you a clue on how you can achieve it in the next chapters. However, in my first book, Are You Really Communicating?, this field of spiritual knowledge is discussed from a broader perspective. Chapter 5. The Spiritual Energy in Sales. Does this happen to you? You are at a location. It could be an office, street, or your home. At some point, someone you know or you don't know is entering your area. And out of the blue, you can feel the presence of this person without any communication. You feel a certain type of energy that is enjoyable, or maybe something depicting toxic power. All this gush of energy creates your emotions. It happens everywhere, like I mentioned before. You can pass a completely random person on the street and this person could impact you with their energy. Maybe you went to places like offices or houses of your friends, and suddenly you felt this secret energy generated by people who were there. It is a ubiquitous phenomenon that is everywhere with us. We are all sources of power generators. The energy we are producing is invisible, but its invisibility is as mysterious as its massive power. This book is about sales, but I strongly desire to give you the sales tool that will finally make a difference. I'm not going to criticize the sales training industry that puts a massive emphasis on techniques. In our world, sales are not seen as an art of spiritual communication, but as a simple user manual of the human species. How many times have you experienced the same questions, treatment, words in conversation, or technical body languages? Now I'm talking about any kind of direct sales, which can happen face-to-face or through the phone. When someone is calling us straight away, we want to finish the conversation just after the first question. Why? Because you probably heard the same thing hundreds of times. When was the last time you really enjoyed the face-to-face sales conversation, which gave you a feeling of comfort and speciality? The chances of seeing that are like seeing a dinosaur walking out of your house. The reality is that the market is full of qualified trainers who finish their schools, and they have their certificates. Unfortunately, in most cases, instead of helping people, they give them the knowledge that kills other people's feelings. They have knowledge which they don't want to use, but in many cases, salespeople are being forced to provide and follow a certain pattern. Yes, you will treat hundreds of people like an object of sales, and you will experience as well as create toxic situations. By making 100 phone calls, the pattern will work. Just like on a production line where some numbers of defects are acceptable, such sales tactics are acceptable for quick success. If you want to be rich, make other people feel rich. By Thomas Gralak. The quote above is something I came up with. It shows something essential, something about creating communication with people. This approach has been my daily driver. Anytime I meet a new person or I speak to someone I know, I treat that moment as a special one. This moment will never happen again, so I make that time the only time to speak, to listen, and to appreciate the other person. This is not a technique because you can do it by using certain words or gestures or commonly popular open questions. You can do it with your energy. It does not matter if you talk on the phone, video chat, or a face-to-face conversation. So what is energy and how it could work in sales? The author who has changed my life and the way I see myself and the people around me is Joe Dispenza. I really admire him as this best-selling author has given me a new understanding of what sales could be. He has shown me what is missing in this communication training industry that treats people like machines. Becoming Supernatural is one of the books created by Joe Dispenza, which gave me new inspiration while searching for the most effective ways to understand how communication works. In his book, Dispenza did not discuss the subject of sales itself. The book is about the spiritual power that we can achieve through understanding our brains and body works. Dispenza also widely analyzes how we can control and raise our internal energy through different ways of meditating. However, some guidance on how you can increase and control your spiritual energy will be shared at the end of this chapter. Because sales are the way we communicate with other people. This is the way we communicate our energy, which is an invisible way that influences everything in us and around us. It has been scientifically proven that our body generates energy. Joe Dispenza, with the presence of other researchers and advanced machinery, clearly proved that our hearts generate a magnetic field. This magnetic field is constantly with us, and its range can even reach several meters. Try to imagine yourself surrounded by an invisible and powerful energy. This energy comes from your heart, and this energy has a direct impact on everything, especially to other people who can feel and read the information included in your magnetic field. This magnetic field has colossal power in any kind of communication. With this invisible power, you can influence other people. You can make them feel happy or sad. You can make them feel special, or you can make them feel like nobody. All this can happen without even looking, without saying a word, and without any physical contact. But we are being trained with just tangible physical power in the form of words, body language, or other training techniques to master influence in sales communication. Yes, in 20% of the results, it can be true, but the rest of the entire communication is invisible energy generated by our hearts. To visualize it, the principle of Pareto comes into play. The Pareto principle 80-20 says that 80% of your success should be created by 20% of your effort. Unfortunately, many times we are doing quite the opposite. 20% of our success, which could be our lifestyle or salary, is created by 80% of hard work. The same thing happens when it comes to communication, where salespeople are putting a massive emphasis on tangible techniques without paying any attention to spiritual energy. Spiritual energy plays the most important role in communication with other people. So now is the time to explain just a fraction of the in-depth and fruitful knowledge created by Dispensa, which can influence our communication abilities. Chapter 6. The Power of Your Heart. It should be so obvious and commonly available to understand the magical power of our heart. What most people know is just that our heart performs the function of a blood pump, the pump that causes our blood to circulate within our body and back to it for filtration. And it's all we know, at least most of us. By analyzing and going through the books of Joe Dispensa, I was astonished at how little I knew about the heart and its functions. Now, did you know that our heart has its own brain, which is composed of approximately 40,000 neurons? The neurons of our heart are very similar to the neurons which are located in our brain. This means our heart feels and creates feelings, and it is not just a complex machine that performs a certain activity. This is a complicated creation within the soul, which is even more interesting. Our heart is in constant communication with our brain. Moreover, our heart sends much more information to the brain and vice versa. You could ask, why is this knowledge important and how can it help in the sales training? Right? Yes, a very good question, but we will answer it at the end of this chapter. Now, if we know that our heart has its own brain, which sends more information to our brain and vice versa, generates a magnetic field around us, and generates a field within a dozen or so meters, it also means that it's game-changing information you can use in order to become not just a great salesperson, but you can be a better version of yourself at any level of your personal development. The energy of my heart in sales. Have you ever felt your heart burning or your heart beating like crazy? This sensation is accompanied by a feeling of stress. The stress within the modern world is affecting us everywhere. We live under instant pressure. We don't think about how to live our lives or think about how to survive. The survival mode is with us all the time. The world is designed in a very materialistic way. We are being taught that we have to be better than others, that our value is addicted to not who we are, but what we have. The information created by ubiquitous media, like social media, television, radio, and other means of mass information systems, is aiming to make us extremely emotional and scared at the same time. This extremely well-designed system of fake marketing is pumping into our heart's beliefs, which are forming in us massively harmful habits. Such habits can irreversibly change our lives. However, if you would like to know how fake marketing works, please go to my book, Are You Really Communicating? Okay, so we know that our hearts are working like crazy sometimes. We also know that the main contributor to death within modern society is cardiovascular disease. Now we know that the stress in our hearts can kill us, but instead of killing our hearts can work for us. To do so, we have to know that our heart feels even before our brain gets the chance to. If we know it, we have to feed our hearts with positive emotions. We have to control what goes and comes out of our hearts. If we are able to control the emotional state of our hearts, we also will be in control of the magnetic field around us. This magnetic field, even if invisible, has a direct and powerful impact on everything around us, especially the people we deal with. How to control our magnetic field. This book is not about empty techniques which are aiming to improve sales at any cost. The modern training business is full of unethical methods. It is full of unqualified trainers who teach us no spiritual methods of positive manipulation. This book is about emotional and empathic sales, which will allow you to see the different meanings of sales. So how can you work on an energetic field generated by your body? Please think about the situation when you were just focused on sales techniques during your communication with your customers. Your main goal was to sell at any price. What was going on in your heart? What kind of feelings were there? Probably there was pride, greed, an aggressive sales-oriented approach, and lots of stress. Now think, what kind of energy did you release from your body? What kind of influence your customer can experience if your heart is filled with the intention of aggressive sales? Yes, maybe you are doing everything as you were taught. You are being attended to by the first impression. You are asking correct opening sales questions. You can overcome the negative answers of your customer. You are asking open questions. And eventually, you are being attended to the correctness of closed sales. So yes, you are doing everything like it should be done. But what is the intention in your heart? Sometimes you might feel, I have done an absolutely great sale, but still, why did my customer say no? I went by the book. Your customer did not buy because your intention was not coherent with the feelings of your heart. Something was wrong, and your customer couldn't experience honest intentions. Your customer was affected by your unethical sales, which came from your heart. Your powerful magnetic field was unpleasant, and it was creating a toxic environment. The next time you will go to any customer, think about your intentions. If the intention in your heart is just to sell, most of your customers will feel it. How to create this kind of magnetic field you and your customers could enjoy? The most important part is to put in your heart with its honest memory, a feeling which you experience in your life. Maybe something from the past, like the best holiday with your family or with your friends. Bring to your heart something special, honest, and real about your life. Fulfill your heart with this feeling. You will start to feel emotional, stronger, and you will experience pleasant feelings, free from all the stress and lies. After you feel this magic power of positive emotions in your life, start to think about what you want to give to your customer. Don't be focused just on sales. Be focused on your customers' feelings by giving them the most honest intention of improving their time in life as well. Give your customers the same feelings which gave you the most happiness in your life. Be focused, be empathic, be honest, and be open. You will start to create a new magnetic field around your body, which will affect your relationship with other people. This is not an empty technique. This is an emotional sale full of truth, comfort, and openness. If you combine your real heart's intention with great technical skills, you will be able to create a real and powerful relationship with your customer. Chapter 7. Conclusion. To achieve a state of coherence of your body with your heart, you need to practice. In this chapter, I have given a certain indication about unethical sales. Maybe the word unethical does not relate to all of us because sometimes we are being taught or even forced to follow the principles of sales training we have been provided with. To be able to create a coherent magnetic field surrounding your body, you have to practice. The first thing you should start with is meditation. It is costless, commonly available, and you can do it everywhere. The meditation will allow experiencing yourself to experience your feeling which is hidden from you, but it can have a massive impact. Your subconscious mind is programmed in a certain way. This software is controlling your life without you controlling it at all. To be able to start to work on your software, you have to stop to think and wait and see what will pop up in your head. This is the basic role of meditation. Just spend 15 minutes a day. Find the most comfortable position of your body. You can sit or do whatever you want. Just be as comfortable as possible. Then close your eyes and focus your attention on your breath. The last indication, try not to think about anything. You will experience something I said before. You will feel the power of your subconscious mind, which will not allow you to stop thinking. You will be bombed by many thoughts and feelings, but don't resist them. Let them in and let them out. These thoughts and feelings will give you an indication of what is in your heart and what you can start to work on. With time, you will be able to control the traffic in your heart and brain. With time, you will be less stressed and more focused. It will be the first step to controlling what your heart is giving and what you are getting in return. The another brain. It was one of the worst experiences in my life. I was 30 years old. It was the time I was studying in England when suddenly my intestines stopped working. I couldn't empty myself for 5 days. Finally, I had to resort to using a bowel remedy. I will never forget this time. For 6 months straight, I was experiencing the failure of my gut. I was feeling full of trash, which was spreading through my body. I couldn't sleep, and I was feeling depressed. I was getting an infection very often. Then I started to explore information about our immune system, and I was extremely surprised how little I knew about one of the most important organs in my body. I found out that our intestines are called our second brain. How can something located in our belly be called our second brain? I started to do my research, which irreversibly changed my life. Before I will explore this in the chapter, I would like to inform you that I'm not any kind of doctor or an expert in this field of very extensive knowledge. However, I'm a hothead who has become passionate about this knowledge, and this passion has changed my life, and I want this to change yours as well. Before I will tell you how I regained control over my life balance regarding my gut, first I will tell you how I destroyed it. I was one of many who became addicted to fake marketing, which always is offering the most effective and simple solutions. I was eating in fast food restaurants. I was buying processed food, especially meat. When I was getting sick from some kind of infection or flu, I reached for medications like painkillers, flu medications, and similar means for defecation. When it did not help, I went to the doctor for a prescription to get some strong antibiotics. Also, I was taking many types of different supplements like vitamins, minerals, and a variety of other pills and powders to build my body in order to become healthier. Every day, I was talking about a handful of pills, being sure that is good for my health because that is what mainstream media said. How easily were they lying to us, right? Because I was another programmed consumerist who believed in everything which was promoted by fake marketing. It was aiming to make us slaves of consumerism by making us more addicted and sick at the same time. More info about these psychopaths and fake marketing is discussed in my book, Are You Really Communicating? But now is the time to talk about our most precious organ that affects everything in our body. Even if I was doing the sport a lot, I was training like 5 times a week. I train in boxing, cross-training, running of any kind, and much more. I had to stop because I could not be focused and energetic enough because of my destroyed gut. I thought that if I do a lot of sport, it would be enough to keep myself in the best possible condition. Again, the Pareto rule is in action. 20% is a physical workout, and 80% is what you put into your body in terms of food and spiritual input. Everything is interconnected, and one cannot work without another. Thus, because I was feeding my body with chemistry of any kind recommended by the specialists, I was eating food that was killing me. My heart was just the organ that I considered a simple pump for blood. I was a medieval man who believed in magic and ghosts of modern and fake marketing. It was time to change it. But before we get to the part where I tell you what I did to fix it, here are some interesting facts about our intestines. Interesting facts. This chapter is titled The Other Brain. How something located in your belly, which is mainly responsible for digestion, absorption, and food excretion, may be loftily called the brain. I was surprised as well. But if you take into consideration, our gut has 100 trillion bacteria, both good and bad, and these are responsible for the functions indicated above. This bacteria, 80%, is responsible for our immune system. It is like special forces, fighting an enemy that is trying to destroy our body. Also, if you take into consideration that our gut produces 80% serotonin in our body, you would be amazed. These are just a small fraction of facts regarding our immune system. Nonetheless, at the beginning of my exploration of such knowledge regarding this special organ, it was enough for me to change the way I thought about it. I started to discover what I was doing wrong. Basically, I understand that I was killing myself. Do you still remember? At the beginning of this chapter, I was talking about a variety of different medications like antibiotics, painkillers, and flu medicine, which I widely use to help my body fight any kind of disease. Yes, they can help, like narcotics can help a drug addict. Most of the available medicines work as narcotics. They give immediate relief. Unfortunately, they cause a lot of side effects and strong addiction as well. From a business point of view, it is great. Unfortunately for us, it is not, because the medicine mentioned above can destroy 80% of our good bacteria, letting us stick with the bad one. It's like killing your best friends in the name of profit from pharmaceutical companies. Or it's like killing 80% of the soldiers and replacing them with plastic bags. How effective would it be for any country in the field of national defense? All this because of the pharmaceutical companies. Now let's be focused a bit on the foods we consume. Sugary drinks, meat full of antibiotics, processed food, and extremely natural and healthy food, not healthy in reality, served in fast food restaurants promoted by celebrities. And you know what? It also kills our immune system by killing our best friends while replacing them with our enemies. So if we kill our friends and best soldiers who are responsible for protecting us and take care of the serotonin production, who's going to help us? It has to be you. But before we talk more about how good the condition of our gut will improve our communication skills, we need to talk about serotonin and its functions. As I mentioned at the start, over 80% of serotonin is produced in the gut. So clearly it can be seen that the condition of our gut has a massive impact on the serotonin production level. This means if you do not look after it properly, this highly beneficial organ will lose some very important functions of your body and would be destroyed. What does serotonin do for our body? Digestion. Serotonin has an impact on the normal function of bowel functions. If the condition of our gut is weak, expelling toxins from our body through defecation becomes very difficult. Sometimes it can become impossible for me. If that happens, most of us use laxatives which cause further damage to our digestive system by killing and removing the good bacteria. Also at the same time, the level of serotonin production is drastically limited. Blood clotting. Serotonin has a massive impact on wound healing. If you have any kind of injury, the high level of serotonin in your body will help to increase the pace of recovery. The above described functions are just some of the benefits coming from an adequate level of serotonin in your body. Now I will be focusing on the benefits that are impacting our communication skills concerning serotonin level. Mood. The low level of serotonin in our body can lead to depression. Nonetheless, an increase or decrease in serotonin can affect our mental condition. Thus, distractions in our gut can be caused by many factors described at the beginning of this chapter, and they can lead to disorders in terms of serotonin production. As most of us have experienced in our life, our mood seems like something which is out of our control. Sometimes we just wake up and just by opening our eyes, we will know that something is not just right. It is the first indicator that there is something wrong. The chemistry of our body is informing us that the level of serotonin is low. This state of mind can deeply influence our relationships with people. Sleep. The way we recover during the night is directly related to the quality of our sleep. The quality of our sleep is linked to many factors, like stress and diet. The way we eat can affect our mood and the quality of the relationship we create with other people, which can influence our eating habits. Also, if we are stressed a lot in our life, it can cause chronic stress. This is the moment when we cannot feel relaxed. The only way we can achieve a state of relaxation is by using stimulants like drugs, alcohol, or medicine. Unfortunately, these stimulants work for a short time, and the side effects can lead to death. What if we do not sleep well? Do you know this feeling? You feel tired, angry, and depressed. Your communication skills are in the shadow of uncontrollable forces which push you to the extreme. In other words, we can very easily create conflicts with other people. We are not effective in any kind of activity, whether it is our passion, family stuff, or professional life. Thus, to sleep well, serotonin is essential. Yes, it can be strange because the serotonin hormone is providing us with true energy. However, serotonin is essential to the secretion of melatonin in your brain. It is the essential ingredient that has to be provided to the pineal gland where melatonin is being created. Look how your gut is linked with your brain function and how one impacts the other. More about the pineal gland will be provided in the next chapter. Internal communication. Serotonin enables our brain cells to communicate with each other. Moreover, serotonin is responsible for the quality of other nervous system cells to communicate. This is one of the most important functions of serotonin. This function is responsible for our internal communication, where the cells of our body talk. The quality of this conversation has a direct impact on everything in our life. Because of internal communication, the internal energy of our body will create an external performance. The way we communicate inside our body has a direct impact on the way we communicate with our external environment. If our internal environment is full of trash, and if we treat our body like a garbage dump, it will impact the way we see ourselves. Our self-esteem level will be low. The kind of energy will send people around us our bad taste and pungent smell, like the aforementioned garbage dump allegory I mentioned earlier. Our spiritual value and power will be limited and out of our control. We need to treat our body as a temple, where our cells can communicate with each other in a friendly manner. To do so, we need to remember that sales techniques are the same as a supplement. Summary. In this chapter, I wanted to inspire to see communication from a completely different perspective. First, we talked about our hearts, and then we discussed our gut. Most of the time, we are being exposed to empty talks and theories about positive thinking and sales techniques. Yes, we have been willing to improve our communication skills and sales skills, but we will not do it just by investing our time in simple activities like listening to great coaches who are selling us intellectual burgers. These burgers are so tasty and addictive, but what would be the result of consuming a lot of junk food in your body? Thus, think about the knowledge you are consuming and think about the impact it will have on the condition of your emotional state. To be great at communicating and selling, first we need to understand how our body communicates so that we can give it the best possible solutions to produce energy that will impact everything around us. Of course, in a good way. Antenna in your brain. In the last 2 chapters, we were discussing the spiritual power of our heart. Moreover, we discussed a very important but very often underrated topic, the role of our gut. Our hearts generate magnetic fields impacting everything around us, especially living creatures like animals and people. The sense of feeling with hearts is strongly represented by our 4-legged friends. If you have a dog, you know that if you are not feeling right, your dog will feel it straight away and will provide you with love, empathy, and closeness. People can feel the same way. If something is not right with your animal, you will feel it instantly. Not because your friend is talking to you. You can feel it because your animal is sending to you a strong message coming from its heart. Why is the message so strong? It comes from a clear intention, free of greed and lies. In their hearts, there is just love. Have you experienced in your life something like a gut feeling? Yes, most of us did. But did you pay attention to it? Do you know why our feelings are born there? Because this is the place where your intuition is born. Your intuition is something scientists cannot fully understand. There is an internal voice in you that is informing you that something is not just right or something is absolutely perfect. You are not feeling it with your brain, but you feel it with your gut. Your heart and gut have spiritual power which sends information and receives more in return. Therefore, we have to listen to our body with caution and respect. In the same way, we should listen to our customers. Now we will talk about your brain, which by many scientists is considered one of the most complex creations in the visible universe. To be honest, I could agree to some extent with that theory. However, the world of science is rapidly changing and nothing is certain. So many things can be taken for granted. Just recently, humanity realized our galaxy is not just the only one in this entire universe. Instead, there can be many galaxies with their own universes. We live in a world where war is more profitable than peace. What I'm trying to say is, I love science, but we are just at the beginning of understanding what is and what isn't around us. Thus, if we talk about our brain, which is called the most advanced tool in the universe, it may or may not be true. Neuroscience is a completely new field of knowledge which has been around for the last 2 decades. Because of new advanced equipment, people can see and understand how our brains are built and how they work. But this is just the beginning, and this small portion of very advanced knowledge regarding our brains has given us a new perspective. The Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman, in his book, Thinking Fast and Slow, which I highly recommend you to read, made an astonishing discovery. With the support of neuroscience, he discovered that our seemingly rational brain is not rational at all. He found that our decision-making process is supported by 2 systems, System 1 and System 2. When you are reading this book, you are becoming aware of how stereotypical, intuitive, and less sophisticated our brain could be. In terms of interacting and interpreting reality, the most sophisticated tool in the universe most of the time is run on autopilot mode. This means that we are not sophisticated creatures. If we talk about controlling our emotions and the way we interact with the world through our brains, It is not through thinking, but is mostly by feeling. Just recently, we became aware that we are not as rational as we were thinking before. This book should be a must-read for all salespeople. However, the point of this chapter is concerned with the spiritual power of our brains. And again, I would like to get back to a great writer, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Dr. Joe Dispenza in his books has inspired me to see our brains as a spiritual creation, full of mysterious and magical power, which you can explore and achieve by meditation. In his book, I have discovered the power of the pineal gland, which is also called the third eye of our soul. By activating this part of our brain, we become able to connect our brains with all the energy surrounding us. This high level of attention which we can achieve through meditation can open us to the understanding of other people's needs. It will be difficult to persuade all the readers to start practicing meditation, but I strongly recommend you to consider it. It can deeply influence your perception, understanding, empathy, communication skills, stress level, your mental and physical health. There are just benefits going positive from meditation, and you will not find any drawbacks during meditation. I do warn you that it is not as easy a task as it sounds, but it is an easy activity to calm your body and brain with time and dedication. Thus, if you want to do something great for yourself and the people around you, start to meditate. It will take you to the next level of your spiritual and physical development, which is pretty important in sales in any part of your life. Now we will talk about your pineal gland. We know that your gut is responsible for your entire body and mind condition. Your immune system is not just protecting you, but also assimilates the most important ingredients necessary to keep your body and mind in balance. Also, your gut is responsible for 80% of serotonin production, which is necessary for your brain to secrete melatonin. Melatonin is essential and also one of the most important hormones which allow your body to recover. Without melatonin productions by the pineal gland, we would not be able to sleep. Do you know this feeling of a sleepless night? It affects everything regarding your mental and physical condition. Because your gut is not functioning properly, you are activating the stress hormones production, which fills the body with toxins. These toxins are polluting your body and spirit. Thus, a heart armed with its own brain is generating the magnetic field which negatively affects your surroundings. You are not feeling well, and other people can feel it. Your internal system of communication will affect your life in any possible way, mostly in a bad way. If your gut is broken and your heart is full of negative emotions, your pineal gland will not be able to produce melatonin. Then your pineal gland will not work. You won't be able to recover, and you would want to be able to experience calm, focus, and empathy. Nonetheless, there is another important function of your pineal gland. As mentioned above, the pineal gland is also called the third eye. This eye can be described as the antenna in a signal receiver from the invisible outside world. This external space is filled with magnetic fields generated by other people. These magnetic fields send you information about other people's feelings and their state of mind. The third eye, which is also the eye of your soul, gives you the possibility to experience real empathy. The eye of your soul can enable you to feel what other people feel. In sales training, we are also told that empathy is the ability to put ourselves in other people's shoes. This skill, according to sales training, is essential in order to sell effectively. Yes, it is. However, how we are being trained to be empathic is very technical and highly unspiritual. In other words, they teach that empathy is very important, and that is all. They have no clue how to explain to us what real empathy is and how we can enable ourselves to feel like other people feel. To achieve the possibility and to understand other people's feelings, we need to know how our internal system works. We have to understand that our communication capabilities are not coming from ineffective sales techniques which are aiming at unethical manipulation. If we want to get to the next communications level, which will provide real comfort and understanding to our customers, we have to start thinking and act outside the box. We have to get back to the root of spiritual communication, which will enable us to understand who we really are and what we can give to others. Our gut, heart, and brain play an invisible yet important role in communication. It is time to give ourselves a completely new understanding of what sales could be. Stop with techniques teaching you how to manipulate people. Stop with the unspiritual treating of our customers, and stop with conflicts. It is time to start a new journey. The journey where sales will be a possibility to meet new people, to provide comfort, understanding, and provide business results based on cooperation and not manipulation. Some guidelines. The spiritual power of communication comes from the heart, which feels, has its own brain, and the power to generate invisible messages expressed in a magnetic field. The messages are included in our invisible power. In turn, they are expressed from your intentions, which are stored in your heart. The spiritual value of intentions is based on an understanding of your internal components, which are not just the elements broadly called internal organs. The internal organs are the building blocks of your soul. Your gut secretes the divine hormone and bacteria which protects you. The divine hormone power your pineal gland is responsible for is the recovery of your body and mind. Also, the third eye function, if done properly, can effectively receive messages from the external world. It gives you a temple, which is your body, to build the internal environment, which receives and sends signals. This signal is made of honest and true intentions, and it can provide your environment with harmony. Finally, in communication with others, we will be able to give our true selves and real empathy. With such knowledge bases of the technical and the spiritual side, and as someone who understands sales on a deeper level, you are all ready to make the right sales.